I want to thank you all for attending today and being here to hear about this exciting news about the new university and what's happening. I especially want to welcome our colleagues from Brownsville. If I could get you to stand up. Provost Alan Artebis, Jana Arney, the Associate. Provost, Dr. Javier Martinez, the Dean of the College of Liberal Arts, Dr. Miguel Angel Escotet, the Dean of the College of Education, Dr. Charles Lackey, Dean of Graduate Students, and Dr. Michael Laker, Associate Dean of the College of Biomedical Sciences and Health Professions. Welcome to the new university. These really are exciting times for our students, exciting times for the Valley, exciting times for all those pregnant moms and dads out there waiting and wondering about the future for their kids as they come to the new university and have that. You've already heard me about why this is so important, why we need this new university. Money. It's all about the money, right? Puff, Texas tea, Texas crude, new buildings, money for capital projects, for the science building, for the business building, for the new medical buildings, money for startup packages, for STARS faculty as they come here and build the research university, money for the new university's infrastructure. But it's more than that. It's about our children, and about the children of the Valley, and about the future of this region. We are getting it right in South Texas, and we will get it right for the entire state. You've already heard me about the timeline, though it will be refined a little bit today. August 2015 sounds like a long ways away, but it isn't, not when we need to get our organizational charts done by January of 2014, not when we need to figure out what this new university will look like by January 2014, not when we need to have a name and a mascot by January 2014. Things are coming at us fast, not when we know that we will have a summit that I'm sure Dr. Leon will talk about in a minute in April of 2014, where we will lay out to everybody what the new university will look like. So yeah, it's coming fast, but there's good news. We have help. Thanks to the vision of Chancellor Figueroa and Executive Vice President Pedro Reyes, we now have Dr. Julio Leon as a liaison, as an organizer, as a helper, so that we can put this new university together and envision what it's going to look like and actually create it. Dr. Leon is a distinguished scholar. He was the president of ASCU, the American Association of State Colleges and Universities. But more importantly, he was a president for 25 years. And he's had that experience of running a university, Southern Missouri. He ran it for 25 years, successfully, growing it, doubling the enrollment, bringing it forward. And he also has had experience going to other universities and helping them. He went to Colorado State Pueblo and was the interim president there and guided them along as they moved forward. He has agreed to work with us for the next 6 to 9 months until we have a new president and the makings of a new university. I'm sure that you're all anxious to hear more about his plans. So with that, Dr. Leon, Julio Leon, please come forward. I invite you to the podium.
Thank you, President Nelson, and good morning to all of you. It is a great pleasure to be here today. For one special reason, if I could mention it first, As President Nelson said, I was president of Missouri Southern State University for 25 years. I was very active in ASCU, the American Association of State Colleges and Universities. And it was at the annual meetings and the many different organizational meetings that took place in ASCU that I had a chance to meet, become acquainted, and be good friends with Miguel Nevares. I remember vividly over the years how he would tell me about this great university that he was president of. I kept hearing about Pan American, Pan American, Pan American. And we got into a competition as to who would last long on the job. Well, I won. But now I am here, and I never dreamed that I would have an opportunity to be a part of a team that will try to transform this university and the one in Brownsville into a new, more exciting, at a higher level university, because that's what we are talking about. We're not talking about bringing two universities together and making it just bigger. It's supposed to be different, it's supposed to be better, it's supposed to be bigger. And all, as President Nelson said, for the benefit of the people of the Rio Grande Valley. So that's what I have been asked to assist in moving the planning process forward. And I am very pleased to say that I have received tremendous support and cooperation from all parties involved. The presidents, the provosts, the deans, the different higher level administrators are all involved, and I will tell you more about how we're going to proceed from here on forward. I think that when one thinks about this project, the South Texas project, as the people in Austin called it, one has to rely primarily on two instruments. Number one is Senate Bill 24, that lays out the legal details as to how this project is going to become a new university. And then the other instrument is the guiding principles that the Board of Regents passed in order to lay out the framework within which we are going to have to work. That's their vision of how this university should be. So with that in mind, I am going to try to address what I understand are some of the questions that many of you have with regards to this project. And also talk about some of the deadlines that we will try to meet as we need to move forward. President Nelson already referred to the fall of 2015, and that is the time when the new university will begin its classes. And before that, however, we have to get the new university accredited. And before it can become accredited, it's got to be organized, and it's got to have a plan of studies and things of that nature, and that's what we're going to try to do. With regards to accreditation, President Nelson, President Garcia, Academic Vice President for the system Pedro Reyes, and Associate Vice President John Hayek, we all went to Atlanta to talk to the accrediting organization, SACS, and find out about the details of how we need to proceed. So we have a good view of what needs to be done. And we have to present SACS in June of 2015 with a prospectus that will detail exactly how the university is going to function. So that by itself become a firm deadline, and we have to move backwards from there. So another important point, at least as far as I am concerned, is the fact that the Board of Regents plans to initiate the search for the president, the founding president of the new university pretty soon. As a matter of fact, they have just selected, I believe, the search committee. And with the expectations that sometime in the spring, they will announce who the selected person is. And at that time, he or she will hopefully begin the process of implementing and perhaps discussing further some of the ideas that all of us together will try to come up with in terms of what this university is going to look like. I understand that there are some trepidations, a little bit of anxiety, with regards to what is going to happen to me, what's going to happen to my job, what's going to happen to our university, how is this going to proceed? And again, as we go to what the legislation says, it says that as far as employment, the Board of Regents shall facilitate the employment of as many faculty and staff of the abolished universities as may be prudent and practical. Well, that by itself tells us that depending on what we put together, the employment needs are going to be more clear to us. As far as organizational structure, the legislation says that as necessary to achieve the maximum operating efficiency of the university, the board shall provide for the organization, administration, location, and the name of the university and of the colleges, schools, and other institutions and entities of the university. So I have been asked to work during the transition so that the planning will provide for a new university with multiple instructional sites and a single central administration. Multiple instructional sites. There won't be branch campuses, there will be instructional sites. And there'll be many of them. Some large ones, obviously, here in Edinburgh and in Brownsville. There'll be Harlingen with the medical school, part of it will be here, and several others, possible new ones that hopefully will be created by the planning process. Any new ideas for new programs that will make this new university better and different will probably be a part of those multiple instructional sites. So that obviously implies that let me refer to that notion of one of everything that you find in the website. That means that there will be one of everything. One business school, one business dean. One English department, one English department head. And so on and so forth in all areas. Now, obviously, at some point, decisions will have to be made as to who is going to be that dean, who's going to be that department head, who's going to be the assistant dean, who will be the assistant department head. How this is going to be arranged, of course, will depend on how we plan the curriculum and the degree programs that the new university is going to have. So, but that is pretty much 2 years from now. At some point, we're really too early in the process to say who is going to be the dean or who is going to be the department head. But at some point, that decision or those decisions will have to be made. However, I want to remind you of something. When the Chancellor presented the proposal to the Board of Regents to pursue the creation of a new university that would have access to the Permanent University Fund, he compared the combined resources of the two universities in Edinburgh and Brownsville to two other emerging research universities within the system. And he used the University of Texas at Arlington and the University of Texas at San Antonio as a comparison. And he says the combined student population of the two universities will be around 28,000. That compares with 31,000 at Arlington and about 30,000 at San Antonio. He compared the combined faculties of the two universities to the faculties of those institutions, and they were fairly similar. So that by itself already tells us that from the standpoint of faculty, we will have the human assets necessary to have an operation at research university similar to those other two. When he compared the support and staff personnel at the two universities versus the two research universities, there were more, quite a bit more actually, than either one of the two. And the implications there are that perhaps there is a need to pare back. However, again, everything is relative at this point, at least from my standpoint and from the conversation that I have had with the Vice President and even the Chancellor, because the Chancellor and the Vice President, Vice President Reyes, have said that they will make every effort to minimize the employment impact of the creation of this new university. Because it really does not make sense if you are creating a new university that presumably is going to bring an additional 5,000 to 10,000 new jobs to the region. When you are creating something that's going to add jobs, it almost doesn't make sense to begin by eliminating jobs, does it? So I believe that a lot of what is going to happen employment-wise, organizational-wise, will depend strongly on the way in which we organize this new university and the creativity that we employ in order to come up with this new and better institution than what we have right now. All the dreams that you have had as a faculty member, as a department head, as a dean, as a vice president, about what this university should be or would like to be but never had the money, it seems like the opportunity is there to begin to realize some of those dreams. President Nelson referred to PUF. He said it's all about money. Yes, to a great extent, that's what this piece of legislation talks about, because the university, the new university, now will have access to the Permanent University Fund. But also, we need to remember that whenever they are asking us to create a university of the first class, one that will be responsive to the needs of the people of the region, a university of the first class, and they compare us to the University of Texas San Antonio and the University of Texas at Arlington as a potential models, well, that means that they have to make the resources available for this new university to reach that level. And just for comparison, we know that the combined universities, Brownsville and Edinburgh, have net assets of about close to $500 million. The other two universities have something like close to $1 billion in net assets. So one way of thinking is, if they want us to be like them, we're going to create something like them. So obviously that implies that every recommendation that we make as to how the university is going to operate, how it's going to look, every new program that we propose, or you propose, I should say, for the new university should have a price tag along with it, so that the chancellor and the Texas system administration will have an idea as to what you are dreaming, what you're expecting, and what the people from the valley can expect. Well, as I said, we already went to Atlanta to talk to the accreditation folks and find out how the affairs should be conducted so that the new institution can be accredited by 2015. I have been working with the presidents of the university and Provost Rodriguez and Artibis on the creation of the working groups from the two institutions that are going to do most of the heavy lifting in this project. Because obviously we have to set priorities. And the first thing that needs to get underway is the creation of the curriculum and degree programs for the new university. And it is here then that we're going to ask the working groups from the different disciplines, some of them in groups, some of them individually, to come together and begin to flesh out what degree programs we want to have. Being a former business school dean, takes a degree, a bachelor's degree in marketing. Okay, both schools have bachelor's degree in marketing, but maybe different courses, but in general they may be similar. If we combine them into one, how this new university bachelor's degree in marketing look like? What courses can be offered there? What courses can be offered here? What courses can be offered with the use of technology? And begin to apply the principles, the guiding principles that the Board of Regents approved. That's the kind of work that we're going to ask you to do, and we're going to ask you to do it as fast as possible. This is not going to be a typical faculty project. Okay? This is not going to be the typical committee that we're used to, not once a month meeting, but a lot more often than that. Because as President Nelson said, the goal is to present to the Chancellor and the administration in Austin in the month of April at a so-called summit, a proposal as to how the academic offerings of the new university will look like. That's the goal. Between now and then, you will have to meet many, many times and very, very often in order to reach that goal. Along the line or along the way, we're going to offer you consultants in your discipline if in fact you feel that you need some. I don't think that we can offer a consultant for every discipline, but probably for different topics and issues. We already have several names that we want to explore and make available so that they can guide our thinking and give us direction in terms of where we want to go. Perhaps some people who can come and speak to us in terms of best practices across this country, things of that nature. Well, if the goal is to have a show and tell in April, obviously, we must be talking about these working groups having their work pretty much finished by the month of January at the latest, so that we can use the month of February or March to hone in to the details and perhaps perfect things a little bit and discuss them among ourselves and try to have a very reasonable proposal. So today, later today, and then earlier next week, we are going to be working on finalizing the makeup of those working groups. We're going to begin to populate them with faculty from the different disciplines. And probably within the next 2 weeks, we hope, or I hope at least, we'll have the initial meeting with these working groups, and you will have then your marching orders. Marching orders will be a set of instructions on what to follow, what not to do, the things that, that you should be looking at, and most of it is really going to be based on those guiding principles. If you remember, there are several things. The guiding principles call primarily for the creation of the university is going to be grounded on student success. Well, that's not new to you. You all have been doing this for quite some time. But there are some best practices around the country, that people who are very successful in terms of ensuring that every student has an opportunity to graduate from college and university. I have always said that every student that walks in the door at our university is precious, quote unquote, precious as your son and your daughter are. And when you send your sons and your daughters to a college, you are entrusting your precious child to a university, and you would hope that that university will have faculty, staff, support personnel that will make sure that your precious child will be successful and will graduate, and they will not let him or her deviate from the path that he or she is supposed to follow. That's as a measure of student success. And we would hope then that together we can frame a plan of action so that from the very beginning, the new university has a culture that promotes student success based on the best practices around the country. That's goal number one. Another important goal of the guiding principles is that sustained and heavy use of the latest technologies in order to assist the process of student success. So again, we all know the impact that technology has on education today. We know that there are many universities that are very, very successful in redesigning courses with the use of technology. There are some organizations across the country that have successfully assisted colleges and universities in redesigning the high mortality rate courses, like the Math 100 and things like that, with the use of technology. And they have dramatically improved the rate of success of students in those courses. And of course, any time that you can increase the rate of success in Math 100 or Accounting 101, things of that nature, then you are essentially promoting student success and increasing your graduation and retention rates. So, once again, our hope is that with the support of those guiding principles, that we can then present in April a framework of what a new university should look like. It won't necessarily be the final word, because hopefully by that time there will be a new president, and then he or she will take the reins of whatever you have put together and begin to flesh out what can be implemented and what cannot be implemented. Alongside the academic working groups, we will have working groups from all the other support areas of the university, because the expectations are that come April, many juniors will begin to send applications, and you need to begin to handle them as a new university. So there are some functions related to enrollment management, IT, registrars, things of that nature that need to get going as soon as possible in terms of integrating those systems and essentially putting together the way it's going to look. So we have a big task ahead, but we also have a lot of experienced administrators that know exactly what needs to be done. We have dedicated faculty, and more than anything, we have an opportunity, an incredible opportunity to do something very, very meaningful for the people of this region, It's just incredible. And as I was talking earlier about the question related to employment, the question related to organizational structure, you have to remember this. When the chancellor spoke to the board and talked about the combined universities versus the other two, he said they'll have 28,000 students to begin with. And who is to say that if one of the plans that exist at the system and is being worked on as a communication plan with the assistance of the local groups in terms of promotion, as soon as the name, in my opinion, as soon as the name is decided, the television networks across the state of Texas ought to be broadcasting the new university, promoting the new university and telling them about it. That should be sometime in April or so. And if that is done successfully, it's well done. And in my opinion, doing it well means this. If in fact, the combined marketing and promotion budgets of Brownsville and Edinburgh amount to, let's say, 600,000, the new university should have a budget of $3 or $4 million for promotion and marketing. Everybody in Texas, in Latin America, should know about University of Texas, Rio Grande Valley, University of Texas, Las Americas, University of Texas, Pan American, whatever name it has. And speaking of Latin America, that's another part of the guiding principles. The regions want this new university to relate heavily to Latin America and or the global emphasis, if you will, but primary emphasis on Latin America because they view this part of the state of Texas as the gate to Latin America. And just the other day, Provost Artebis was in conversation with a prominent social research scientist from Canada. And he asked about some examples of bilingual, bicultural universities. And he said, that person said, well, the best example in Canada, you know, with the French and the English culture is the University of Ottawa in Ottawa, Canada. So when he told me about that, and when he told us that he thought that might be a place that we might want to look at, I went to their website. And if you do that, you will see the same thing I saw. The first thing that comes up in their website is you can get degrees and take your courses in French or in English at this university. Truly bilingual. So can you imagine if we broadcast, use that $4 or $5 million budget in promotion, and we broadcast to Latin America? You can come to the United States and take your degree in engineering or in marketing or in music or whatever, in Spanish or in English, because we have a bilingual faculty, we have bilingual programs. That would be innovative, that would be different, that would be something that nobody in the United States is doing today. And that's how I hope you would dream about a new university. Not about bringing the two together and combining, but how do we bring them together? How do we create programs to have something much better than what we have had before? That is the idea. That is the premise from which we're working from. And I would hope that over the next 4 or 5 months, you would be an active participant in the creation of this exciting new endeavor that is going to be so great for everybody in the state of Texas. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Leon. That was very enlightening. And we in Pan Am look forward to working with you in these coming months. Look forward to creating this new university. If you remember, those of you who were at convocation, I said that the real work would begin once those working groups were established. They have been assembled now, and they have grown to 47 total working groups. That's a lot of working groups. In the email I sent you earlier today, it said 41. We're already to 47. And then the provost is working on 13 more in addition to that on the academic side. These working groups will be working on the structure, on the processes, on policies, on accreditation, on core curriculum, on campus security, on everything. And the provost will have his group that will also be working on the degree programs, on the curriculum, as we said. I'm going to invite him up to the podium in a few moments so that he can talk about that. But first, I want to tell you a little bit about these initial 47 working groups. No one has been officially appointed yet. You haven't received their letters. In fact, we're waiting on 30 names from the Faculty Senate of faculty members that are going to be there. We just got the names from the Staff Senate today and are starting to populate them there. We need about 15 more names from the students, from student government. And then Brownsville is putting together its list. The working groups will have equal numbers from both universities working together so that we have representation. We'll also need people from the medical side as we move along eventually. But all in all, you're going to have at least 250 people working on this project. That's a lot of people. We will put it up on the web. You will see the names. It will be transparent. We need everyone to know what we're doing as we create the new university. Below the working groups, there will be even more working groups, okay? Just think about it for a moment. If you talk about accreditation, right? You've got SACS accreditation, but you've also got ABET, ACSB, ECOTI, PAC. You've got ARC. You've got all of these other ones, so you're going to have subgroups working underneath them, working in the disciplines to be able to move forward. My biggest worry right now is not what the name of the new university is going to be, not what the mascot's going to be, not what our colors are going to be. My biggest worry is that we could burn out. Because you've heard January is coming at us fairly quick. We all have full-time jobs. I've watched over the years what happens when something like SACS accreditation or the implementation of a new ERP, Oracle, or PeopleSoft system comes in, and what it has burdened others, and how it has sometimes dragged others down. The amount of extra work is painful and sometimes almost unbearable. Well, the work here will make the implementation of Oracle look easy. It will make SACS look easy. The tension will be even greater because, as you've heard, you'll have working groups working together, one dean sitting across the other dean, wondering, what's my future? People wanting to come forward with their own. People that you don't know from Brownsville, from the RAC, people that you're going to have to get to know. Professor Rodriguez often brings up the metaphor of hats. When you come to these groups, you have to take off your Panhandle hat. You have to take off your Brownsville hat. Once we have the new university name, I promise you, we'll buy you all new hats with the new name on it for the working groups. But until then, we need to work together. We're going to see if we can get some backfill positions for you to be able to help, just like you would in an implementation team. Do your jobs and make sure that we are successful with educating the students here. I made fun and said it's about the money. It's not. It's about quality education. It's about excellence. It's about being successful as a university. It will be work, but it will be work that will create an entire new future for the Valley. The future of those children waiting to be born. I'm not going to go into depth about the work groups right now. I'm just going to give you some broad strokes. We have broken down the working groups into roughly divisions, okay? In academic affairs, there are 19 working groups. Business affairs has 10 working groups. Information technology has 3 groups. Student affairs has 8 groups. University advancement has 4 groups. And university-wide, we have 4 other groups. Again, I don't want to waste your time by reciting what the groups are, but let me give you the highlights of some of the groups under each category. Under the university-wide category, we need a new mission statement. Any of you who know anything about SACS knows that every principal in SACS, and we have to produce a prospectus, every principle in SACS is driven by your mission statement. It is the very first principle that you have to come forward with because everything moves out from there. Luckily, as Dr. Leon pointed out, we have 15 principles, guiding principles that will help us with that mission statement. We also have to work on the organization and the administrative organization and what it will look. That will also be based on our mission statement. The governance of the university is based upon the mission statement. Even student learning outcomes, when you get down that low, will depend upon how we envision our mission statement. As I said, we are lucky to have the 15 principles. Now it will be time for us to creatively begin talking about what they mean to us as we create a bilingual, bicultural, biliterate university. We know that this new university is going to be deeply engaged with our community. The principles tell us that. So we're going to need working groups working on that engagement and how we will be engaged. We know that it will be focused on creating jobs and translational research. The principles tell us that. We will need working groups that will work on research and the like. The new university won't work without a new university structure. So we have a subgroup to make recommendations about that structure. We also have to deal with auxiliaries like housing, child care centers, the bookstores, things that cut across all the way the universities. With academics, we've got to look at the core curriculum. We've got to look at international programs, at academic policies, at assessment, at the libraries, as I said, at research, at faculty governance, shared governance. What does it mean in this new university? At distance education. With business affairs, we need to deal with budgeting, with HR procedures and policies, with purchasing, with campus security, with staff governance, and with transportation. IT has to deal with which systems we're going to populate. Are we going to use Banner? Are we going to use PeopleSoft? Are we going to use Oracle? Those decisions are going to have to be made. They're hard decisions, but they need to be made so that we can move forward with them. Then there are all of the questions about the instructional support services and distant education platforms. Bringing us together will give us an opportunity to get better. Student affairs will have to work on admissions policies, tuition and fees reconciliation, financial aid, student health services, and most of all, student government and student programming. Development and advancement, we'll have to figure out alumni relations, how development boards work together, how we market this new university. Work, work, work. But it will be rewarding work. We don't get this opportunity. No one else in America is getting this opportunity to create a brand new university, to establish something, to grow something. This will be a time of pride, a time where we will be able to engage the community and transform the valley, as we've always said we wanted to do. No matter what, the new university will continue to serve our students. And we will continue with the excellence that is here. So I would like to ask the provost to please come to the podium and to talk a little bit about that education that we are going to give to the students, about the new university, about what academics will be to really, truly be first-rate as a first-rate research institution, a first-class research institution, an excellent university. Provost.
Thank you, President Nelson. And let me also say, Dr. Leon, welcome to UT Pan American. It's a pleasure to have you here. And I also want to extend my gratitude to Provost Otterbees and the colleagues from UT Brownsville for being with us here this morning. Provost Otterbees and I have shared I don't know how many thousand emails thus far, telephone calls and conversations and meetings talking about the new university and how to move the process forward. And as many of you have heard me say before, I think that at the end of the day, the guiding principle is promoting excellence in everything that we do. That is what the new university is all about. It's about academic excellence. It's about excellence in research. It's about excellence in service. It is about providing a transformational education to the people, the community in the Rio Grande Valley, but one that extends beyond the Rio Grande Valley across the state of Texas, across the nation, and really and truly across the nation, because one of the guiding principles is to have this university become a global university. Well, the good news is that we're not alone in this process. There's many universities that have gone through this process of consolidating, in other cases of merging institutions. So we've been taking a comprehensive look at academic programs in Georgia, which merged 8 universities into 4, especially Georgia Regents, Rowan University, Toledo University, Arizona State University as well. So there are many models out there that can help us think more broadly about these ideas about the creation of a new university. But what it is important is that the academic programs that we will be developing are based on the guiding principles of the new university. And you've already heard us talk about these guiding principles. It's to create an emerging research institution. It is to create a university of the first class, a doctoral university in which innovation is key in terms of the academic programs that we've developed. As I tell my deans all the time, if at the end of the day, we have a new university that's the result of a combination of 2 universities and that's it, this project would have been a total failure. We have to develop programs and initiatives that are innovative. We have to develop programs and academic programs that are transformational, that are transdisciplinary, that build on the biliterate, bicultural culture, bilingual culture that permeates the Rio Grande Valley. And that should be the focus of the academic programs. We've been taking a comprehensive look, the folks at UT Brownsville and UT Pan American, at the academic programs that exist both at Brownsville and at UT Pan American. And there are similarities, as you may imagine, and there are differences, as you also know. UT Brownsville has significant strengths, academic and research strengths in a number of areas. UT Pan American has significant strengths, academic and research strengths in a number of other areas. So the goal of building these academic programs is to build on the strengths that Brownsville has and Pan American has to create new and innovative programs that will really allow us to transform the educational process here at the new university. It has been said before. Currently, between Pan American and Brownsville, we have 28,000 students. By the time the new university is formed, we'll probably have over 30,000 students. So we will become one of the largest Hispanic-serving institutions in the country. We will become a national model in terms of Hispanic-serving institutions, but in terms of institutions of higher education across the country. And that should become the goal. That should become the path that we follow in becoming the new university, building on the strengths, building on the foundations of UT Brownsville and UT Pan American. We do not start from scratch. We do not start from zero. We start from very, very important contributions that both institutions have made to the Rio Grande Valley and to the state of Texas. So in thinking about these academic programs, we've come out with about 13 general areas that we would like to focus on. As you know, in Brownsville, as you may know, they have a College of Liberal Arts, which is a combination of the College of Arts and Humanities and Social and Behavioral Sciences here at UT Pan American. So we want to take a broad and comprehensive look and take a look at creative and performing arts, take a look at the liberal arts and humanities and see what programs we can develop in that area. Community and public service, social science is a key, STEM initiatives, science, math, biomedical sciences, health professions, nursing. We have a different structure in Pan Am and Brownsville in nursing, engineering, computer science and technology, business, and education. We also want to make sure that we form groups that will take a comprehensive look at bicultural studies, taking a look at what we have currently and what we can develop that is innovative in terms of building bicultural, biliterate, bilingual, and global programs. And as I've said before, to really create programs that are transdisciplinary in nature, that bring engineering together with the medical school, that bring business administration with the social sciences, that brings the creative arts with education, et cetera, to build new and innovative programs. This is the time to be innovative. This is the time to be creative. So in this process, we are now trying to populate these groups with faculty members. In the case of UT Pan American, I've asked all the deans to consult with their college councils and their executive committees to make recommendations of faculty who should be on these working groups. I'm pleased to say that all the deans have already made recommendations. On Monday afternoon, the deans of UT Brownsville and UT Pan American will be meeting again to take a comprehensive look at these working groups, see how we can modify this, see what makes sense, look at other institutions of higher education that have gone through this process, and then establish the basic infrastructure in terms of working groups that will allow us to finalize populating these working groups and then begin the work. Begin this journey to create the new university, to transform our communities, to transform the Rio Grande Valley, and to transform the state of Texas and beyond. Thank you very much.
I just got called out of here by Dr. Reyes, the Vice Chancellor. And it was because he was so excited about the new university and about the new medical school, he wanted to talk to me about 2 buildings. I said I wanted to get back in and talk to you guys, okay? But that's how much excitement there is around this. We're at a precipice. We're about to jump. But we can fly. We can literally fly. You are supermen, super people. People who will take and create this new university and make it that transformative agent that our provost was just speaking about. For a long time, We have talked about transforming the valley. We've talked about lifting people out of poverty. What we are doing here is more than that. It is much more than that. What we are doing is creating an entirely new narrative for the valley. An entirely new world for the people in South Texas. Hard work, yes. Maybe a little frustrating at times. But what I ask of you is that every time you do get a little frustrated, or you do have to work so hard, that you remember who you are doing it for. That you remember that you came to this valley to provide the most excellent education you could, the very best services you could, the most support that you could to people. The magic in the valley, we know what it is. It's the people. Remember the students. Remember those students that have come up and hugged you and have cared about you. Remember those students that have had a hard time and you bought a meal for them. Remember those students who you've watched walk across the stage and receive their degrees. And remember those students who call you all these years later and love you as much as you love them. Okay? We're ready to take some questions. Anybody who wants to ask questions, please come up to the microphone. And amongst all of us, if we can't answer it, we can't answer it.
The August 2015 timeframe seems to me sort of ambitious because of capital improvements that you have mentioned will materialize, and I'm just wondering whether you could speak to that, whether there are some contingency plans in case new construction does not evolve by that time, or land acquisition and such. And aside from that, I want to compliment what you just said. The magic in the valley are the people, or is the people. That might be a good model for the new university as well. I really like that. But if you could please comment on what I asked about with respect to contingency plans and materializing the land, for example, acquisition, the new construction, et cetera. I'm curious about that.
We are meeting with OFPC now about new buildings, and the science building we've talked about, the medical buildings we've talked about, and that. We are meeting with them also and talking with the people about new technology, transformational center, that is Transformational Learning Center, on delivering of new classes. Brownsville is busily planning on new classes there and new buildings down there, and I think Dr. Artebis can probably talk to that. There are no contingency plans. We can make this work here now. We will build the buildings, but it's not just going to be about brick and mortar. It will be about new delivery systems and better delivery systems, and it will be about being innovative in the way. Alan, do you want to say anything about the Brownsville campus and your plans?
We're planning as well.
Come up to the mic.
Well, I know, President Nelson, you just completed your campus master plan. We're about to complete ours this fall, and part of that is building plans for the next couple of years. So that planning is well underway and will continue. And even though there's going to be a master plan for the region, our campus plans will very much form the critical component of the larger plan.
Yes, an RFP went out just this last month on a new campus master plan so that we can be planning for the new headquarters and wherever the new headquarters are going to be, for what's going to happen up in Rio Grande City, what's going to happen with the McAllen teaching site, what's going to happen with down on SPI, South Padre Island.
Yes, and I just wanted to add that within the next week or so, in Austin, they will be finalizing the selection of an architectural firm for the master campus, for a master plan for the new university. So at the system level, this is already taking place as well, taking into account the possibility of PUF funds.
Mm-hmm. We expect to be going in the November meeting. We've sent up business plans for new buildings already. Other questions?
I wanted to ask who's going to make the decision about which faculty will be on that work group, and what will the criteria be that they will use to decide which faculty will and won't be involved?
We have populated the work groups working closely with the Faculty Senate. The Faculty Senate is deciding what they have, as I said, 30 people on there. Can't make the work groups that big because we got to be able to get a lot of work done in a short time. So maximum is about 6 people from there and 6 people from here. So the Faculty Senate is busy putting them on. Student Government Association is also doing, and so is the Staff Senate. So it's a combination of all of us working together. We met as a group, and the Faculty Senate said we needed to be here, here, here. We said yes. And then they went back and talked amongst themselves again later and said, well, there's some other places that we need to be. So they will be bringing those names forward in addition to the names we've already identified.
Good morning. My name is Pamela Chavero, and I am a senior here studying pre-med biology major. I'm here representing the Student Government Association. And I just have one question. First of all, I would like to welcome Dr. De Leon and our guests from UTB. Thank you for coming to our university. And my question is the following. Would students currently enrolled at either university need to reapply once the new university's policies are in place?
No, they do not need to reapply. They will automatically be transferred into the new university, and they will graduate. The first class will graduate in December 2015. They will move in there automatically. What I want to assure you is if you graduate before that, your diploma will be just as valuable as your diploma after that. Pan Am diploma will always be very, very important.
Thank you.
And nobody has to reapply for their jobs either, except some.
So, question. Within the guiding principles, there's some, frankly, a little confusing information. We talk about being a bilingual, bicultural, biliterate campus, and that obviously is Spanish and English. And then we have this global language inserted there also. I'm very biased as a Latin Americanist, but it would be nice, I think, if our efforts, of course we are global, but where we can be special, where we can attract people from outside the region, I believe it's Latin America. And are we going to make that clear, or are we still kind of playing around with that issue?
I think it's darn clear, okay? We need to bring back our Latin American Studies program. We need to have programs on entrepreneurship in Latin America. We need to have all sorts of programs. We said a long time ago when Pan Am University became Pan Am University, right, that we were the gateways to America. We did a little map of the Americas with all of the arrows pointing out, right? Well, if we don't have a Latin American Studies program, we probably aren't going to be there. So we need to build in those areas, and we need to reach into those areas. So yes.
It's been made very clear about the name. We understand we can't keep the name Pan American, and we understand why. But my question, and obviously I understand with the creation of the new university that priority is to academics and to serving our community and our students. But how about the mascot? When it comes to the mascot, can the Bronc be considered, or taking off the Pan Am hat, can the ocelot be considered?
What the South Texas Project, Project South Texas website says, and that's all I can go by right there, it says that the students will choose the new mascot. So there will be a strong emphasis upon them. So you're asking the wrong person. You need to go talk to student government.
This is a question to Dr. Rodriguez. The transition teams, the academic transition teams that will be meeting together, will they also be deciding the kind of organization of departments and colleges, or making recommendations regarding that? Or are they simply going to be discussing potential programs?
We have a separate subgroup that is working on the organizational structure. His groups will be working on specifically on the academic side of it and not necessarily the structures of it, although there may be new programs that will come forward and new colleges that will be proposed and elements like that. As he talked about being transdisciplinary. So there'll be questions about that and how it will all fit together. A lot of that will take there. But the overall organizational group is a university-wide group that will be looking at the whole organization. Remember, this is not just about academics. This is about the entire university. It's about HR. It's about the student union. It's about university programming board. It's the entire university.
Has there been given any thought to having some mechanism? These transition teams obviously have a lot of work to do and a lot of work to do quickly, and therefore they can't be that big, et cetera. But I think there might be others in the group that will feel like they're doing this in some kind of behind some curtain. Will there be a way that if people on campus or even the community have ideas for these groups, that they're able to shoot those ideas to them?
We're just starting to talk about that right now. The possibility of having blogs is a real good possibility. I think we can set that up. We've been talking about that in cabinet in particular. We will put the working groups up on the web page so you will know who's in them, so that you can talk individually to them. There will be no hiding that. We will be asking them to keep copious notes and minutes, because we need those for SACs, because you have to prove that faculty participation was major in all of the decisions. If we do not show that, that is one of the principles that could destroy this whole thing when we come forward with the prospectus. So we need to have that openness and transparency, and it will be there.
Good morning. There is an understanding, at least by some, that Texas state law says that instruction has to be in English in public Texas universities. I'm all for bilingual, biliterate, bicultural university, but is that possible?
There is a Texas Education Code that says that it must be in English. However, there is no reason why you can't run subtitles. There is no reason why you can't have part of the discussion in there and then translate thereafter. There is no reason that you can't have materials that are read in other languages and that. We will also be working closely with the legislature. This is a new idea. Some people might have a hard time with the idea, but this is the right idea for this valley, and we can work to change that Texas Education Code.
There is some faculty in this campus that have already formed some partnerships with colleagues, faculty in Latin American universities throughout the years because of our position in the Valley and so forth. Some of those partnerships are kind of dormant. Some of them are kind of subtle because language and things like that, like the one you just mentioned about the language. Like University of Miami has complete programs in Spanish because there is a lot of people going into that area, and something like that can be something that we can use. Is it too early to suggest that those faculty can continue those partnerships or strengthen those partnerships, like talking through additional ideas with those faculty in Latin American universities, so that in the future this can become something more interesting and more in tune with the mission of the new university?
There's two parts to this answer, okay? First and foremost, we should continue moving forward with the things we're already doing. We don't abandon our strategic plan because we're going to have a new university. We don't abandon the excellent education that we're doing. We don't abandon our friendships and our collaborations with other universities. We continue to strive to improve them. Faculty should be talking to other universities. They should be talking to other groups. And now's the perfect time, because we're at that precipice, like I said, a precipice of greatness where we're going to be able to fly. So yes, talk to them, bring them in. We need to get them active again. So absolutely. These are easy questions. It looks like there are no more questions. Again, we want to thank you for being here today. We want to thank you for the work that you're going to do. We want to thank you for the support that you've given this new university. And we want to thank you most of all for your dreams of the future, your willingness to be part of this great, great enterprise. So let's go out and multiply and divide.